Planning your Walt Disney World vacation is a holistic process. Some people think a trip to Disney World requires too much planning. In this video, we are going to introduce you to pretty much every concept you need to know for booking a Walt Disney World vacation. So if you're interested in an extensive guide to putting together a great trip to Walt Disney World, you're going to love this video. Our Walt Disney World Vacation Planning Guide offers advice on best time to visit, how to avoid crowds, save money and time, with info on lightning lanes, best rides, restaurant reviews, and itineraries for Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. When is the best time to visit Walt Disney World? This is often the first question most viewers ask, and it's not an easy one to answer because it's subjective. What makes an experience the best differs from person to person. With that said, there are usually three distinct components to a great trip: crowds, cost, and fun. If you're simply looking for sweeping generalizations about Walt Disney World crowds, we can offer some quick ones here. The first is that the rest of summer 2024 shouldn't be too bad. While there might be slight spikes and lulls here or there, crowd levels should mostly be low to moderate. Usually, there's a second spike at the end of July, which we've attributed to last or us summer travelers scrambling to take last-minute trips before school goes back into session. It's likely that there will be a gradual increase in crowd levels, with the final week in July 2024 being the busiest of summer. Even then, that's still likely moderate to slightly above average crowds. It will not be peak season craziness. It's safe to say crowd levels will start dropping in early August 2024. This post-summer slowdown has started earlier and earlier in recent years. Regardless, expect crowd levels to drop off a cliff mid-month and remain that way until mid to late September. At that point, there should be a spike for another last hurrah, as Floridians and others scramble to use ticket deals before they expire on September 22nd or September 28th. After that, expect another lull until fall break rolls around less than a couple weeks later in mid-October 2024. There are still definitely big differences in crowd levels, and you should plan accordingly. No matter how hard Disney might try, there are certain times that travel is slower. School schedules, weather, seasonal festivities, youth sporting events, conventions, and other factors all play a huge role in crowd levels at Walt Disney World. How much does it cost to go to Disney World? I'm going to start with what I'll call the baseline Disney World vacation. That's the vacation I would go ahead and tell a first-timer to book without knowing anything about how the finances look. Then I'll go ahead and talk about ways to increase and decrease your budget to fit your situation. Our baseline Disney World vacation for a family of 4, 2 adults, 1 child 10 plus, 1 child 3 to 9, costs $6,865, $343 per person per night in 2024. This includes flights, transportation to and from Disney World, a 5-night stay at Pop Century, 5-day tickets without park hopper, Lightning Lane multi-pass at 2 parks, recommended Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, quick service meals, snacks, and 2 table service meals. For a family of 3, 2 adults, 1 younger child, this trip comes out to $5,472. For a family of 5, 2 adults, 1 older child, 2 younger children, which requires a different hotel, the trip comes to $8,434. The expensive trip is more complicated. There are a variety of ways to make your Disney World trip as expensive as you'd like. But for this summary, we'll focus on a family that upgrades to Contemporary, gets park hopper tickets, adds more days of Lightning Lane multi-pass and a couple single-pass Lightning Lanes, upgrades their dining slightly, and does a ticketed event. This trip comes to $8,893 for a family of 3, $10,696 for a family of 4, $12,258 for a family of 5, with the bulk of the additional costs coming from the hotel upgrade. Our budget family is more flexible. They change their trip dates to value season, cut a day off their trip, and switch their hotel to all-star movies. They stick to quick service meals. They do only 3 park days, but they add park hopper to their tickets and still purchase Lightning Lane multi-pass 2 days. As a result, they get their price down to $3,671 for a family of 3, $4,735 for a family of 4, $6,346 for a family of 5. How long to visit Walt Disney World? How long you should stay at Walt Disney World depends largely upon the type of trip it is. If you're not much of a Disney fan, but are taking your kids on a once-in-a-lifetime rite of passage trip, we recommend a Walt Disney World vacation of at least 6 or 7 days. The exact length will still vary a bit depending upon how much vacation time you have and if you plan on visiting non-Disney theme parks or destinations. In addition to visiting Disney's theme parks, you'll also probably want to build a day into your itinerary for relaxation. And this is good to plug into the middle of your trip so you don't get worn out by the theme parks. The other consideration for planning trips to Walt Disney World might be how much time to spend doing other things. You might want to do Orlando area theme parks like Universal, SeaWorld, or Busch Gardens. We recommend at least a couple of days at Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure. For a first visit, we recommend at least 3 full days. That's 4 nights, and with the arrival and departure days, 5 days. Obviously, this is better if you can fly in very early and out very late. With 3 days, you can spend 2 full days at one park each and split the third day between the remaining 2 parks. 4 full days is better. If flight prices work out, consider flying in 1 night earlier than planned and staying at the cheapest Disney room you can find. Wake up the next morning, tell them to send your bags to the Disney hotel you booked the rest of your trip at, a split stay, and go enjoy the parks. 5 full days, or 4 full days plus a solid half day, e.g. your flight out is 4 p.m. or later, is ideal. This will allow you full days at each park and an extra half day at Magic Kingdom. We've done 10-day vacations at Walt Disney World and month-long Airbnb stays off property. There's really no amount of time we'd say is too long. After 6 to 8 days, you'll need look beyond the standard plan though, and to things like water parks, spa/no park stays, and backstage tours. Park tickets. If you opt to book things yourself and without a vacation package, we recommend buying your tickets from an authorized third-party ticket seller to save money. Normally, prices increase in February and/or October. Walt Disney World did not raise prices this February, suggesting that more October 2024 price increases are on the way. But maybe not. Disney has slowed the rate of increases in the last couple of years, after prices exploded during the pent-up demand prior, so it's possible they won't raise costs again in October. Either way, it's not a bad idea to buy now at lock-in current prices no matter when you're visiting between now and December 31st, 2024. Disney's mantra is the longer you play, the less you pay per day. It's corny, but true. Single-day Walt Disney World tickets are expensive, but multi-day tickets are much cheaper per day. The cost of additional days on a ticket substantially decreases with each day you add after 3 days. In other words, longer trips are not proportionally more expensive than shorter ones. Where to stay? Disney's Contemporary Resort. Thanks to its A-frame design and the monorail running through it, the Contemporary has a distinct look. It offers convenient access to the Magic Kingdom via monorail or walking path, and to Epcot via monorail. Good dining options are another plus, as is the compact layout. Its new Incredibles-inspired rooms are a mixed bag, but many families will love them. Weaknesses are high nightly rates, generic pool, and that the hotel is showing its age and hardly feels contemporary. Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. Thanks to its A-frame design and the monorail running through it, the Contemporary has a distinct look. It offers convenient access to the Magic Kingdom via monorail or walking path, and to Epcot via monorail. Good dining options are another plus, as is the compact layout. Its new Incredibles-inspired rooms are a mixed bag, but many families will love them. Weaknesses are high nightly rates, generic pool, and that the hotel is showing its age and hardly feels contemporary. Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. The Poly as it's known by fans. This resort celebrates tiki culture, meaning it's a fun environment rather than an authentic one. Strengths of the Polynesian are its beautiful grounds, great restaurants, and new Moana makeover of the guest rooms. Location on the monorail loop makes it a short ride to Magic Kingdom and easy access to Epcot. Weaknesses are that it's one of the most expensive resorts at Walt Disney World and is dated in some regards. Choosing your non-Disney hotel. There are several categories of hotels here. If you want to dive into these deeper, you'll need to do some separate research, but we want to give you a lay of the land. The Walt Disney World Swan, Dolphin, and Swan Reserve are three Marriott hotels between Hollywood Studios and Epcot right off of the boardwalk. Location-wise, these are equal to Yacht Club, Beach Club, and Boardwalk Inn. Swan and Dolphin guests have access to early theme park entry, have access to extended evening hours, have access to purchase individual lightning lanes at 7 a.m. Do not use Disney buses, but do have walking and boat access to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. The Disney Springs Resorts are 7 hotels operated by a few different major chains located within walking distance of Disney Springs. Guests at these hotels, except B Resort, as of early 2024, have access to early theme park entry. Do not have access to extended evening hours. Do not have access to purchase individual lightning lanes at 7 a.m. Guests at these hotels also do not have direct access to Disney's free transportation system, though they do have a shuttle to the parks every 30 minutes, and anyone, guest or not, can use Disney's transportation system once they have access to it. E.g., once at a park, you can take a Disney bus to another park, a Disney hotel, or Disney Springs. The Four Seasons Orlando has access to early theme park entry, but not to extended evening hours. Guests do not have access to purchase individual lightning lanes at 7 a.m. Walt Disney World Good Neighbor Hotels are 50-ish hotels located within 14 miles of Walt Disney World. These are hotels that have been given something like a stamp of approval by Disney. They all offer transportation to Walt Disney World, some with a fee. They do not have access to any of the aforementioned perks. Beyond that, there are a wide range of hotels that aren't Good Neighbor hotels. Honestly, there's little reason to consider these hotels. Besides weighing price and the importance of the Disney perks, the biggest factor in picking your hotel near Walt Disney World is going to be transportation. To that end, we highly recommend reading review on TripAdvisor, Google reviews, and different blogs to see how people describe the transportation. Considering a Walt Disney World Airbnb. One thing budget travelers will need to consider is renting an Airbnb near Walt Disney World. Airbnb is a service that allows people to rent out their apartment like a hotel room. But near Walt Disney World, it's more common to see apartments, condos, or vacation homes that are rented out exclusively to vacationers. Airbnb rentals tend to have good price, and you'll have the space of an apartment, usually including a full kitchen. This makes Airbnb a great savings option if you're willing to cook some meals or pack lunches. The biggest downside of Airbnb is transportation. You'll need to either drive or rely on Uber or taxis to get to Walt Disney World. As Disney hotels now charge for parking, drivers may find great value in Airbnb rentals that include parking. Those who rely on Uber can find rentals that are a $10 Uber ride from the parks, which means you'll spend an extra $20 to $25 per day on transportation. Itineraries and attraction advice. Having an itinerary is a big deal, even for some frequent Walt Disney World guests. Some visitors create binders, spreadsheets, and schedule every step of their day. People get serious and obsessive about this. We are not those people. Planning is important, but going to those lengths is unnecessarily stressful and creates unrealistic and rigid plans. The best laid plans often go awry, and when that inevitably happens, it can be disappointing if you've overplanned. With that said, we also recommend first-time visitors do not wing it for your daily itinerary. You don't need to plan every movement so that there's no spontaneity in your trip. Just make sure you have at least a loose plan of what you're going to do. As with most things in life, balance and moderation are key. Having an itinerary is a big deal, even for some frequent Walt Disney World guests. Some visitors create binders, spreadsheets, and schedule every step of their day. People get serious and obsessive about this. We are not those people. Planning is important, but going to those lengths is unnecessarily stressful and creates unrealistic and rigid plans. The best laid plans often go awry, and when that inevitably happens, it can be disappointing if you've overplanned. With that said, we also recommend first-time visitors do not wing it for your daily itinerary. You don't need to plan every movement so that there's no spontaneity in your trip. Just make sure you have at least a loose plan of what you're going to do. As with most things in life, balance and moderation are key. Attractions that have height requirements also offer rider switch, also known as child swap, baby switch, rider swap, or parent swap. This is Walt Disney World system that allows parents with small children to take turns experiencing thrill rides and other attractions with height requirements via lightning lanes. Your imagination is really the limit here. Most first-time visitors only know about the theme parks, Disney Springs, and the water parks. That's just the surface of what Walt Disney World has to offer. There are tours, golf, fishing, nightlife, shopping, fireworks cruises, babysitting, spas, and much more.